We're going to go straight into questions. If you'd like to ask a question, please use the raise your hand feature located at the bottom of your screen. Your first question will come from Anthony DeComo.
Hey, David. Could you just walk us through the Mullins trade, when that got serious for you, and also what he provides for your team, does to your roster here?
Yeah, we have been having off and on conversations with Baltimore, clearly about a lot of different things over the last couple of weeks. Mullins' name has been part of those discussions throughout. We like the player. We like what he brings on both sides of the ball. The athleticism, we talk a lot about ways that players can impact games that may not always show up in the box score, and we think Cedric has the ability to do a lot of that. We think he's going to fit in very well to how we run the bases, how we want to play defense and center field, and so excited to bring him on the team.
Jeff has obviously been playing, the bulk of center field for you, at least against right-handed pitching. Will he slide back now to be more of a second baseman, or how do you view that shaking out?
I think we'll work through that. I think Jeff's still going to play, obviously, a lot. He's swinging the bat very well. I imagine there will still be some outfield opportunities at times. There's going to be second base opportunities. There's probably going to be some DH at bats there at times. So I think, with our left-handed hitters, there's going to be ample opportunity for all of them. And it's just finding where the piece is going to fit on each day in the lineup.
Thank you.
We'll go to Mike Puma next.
Hey, David, what did the starting pitching market look like, and did you come close to swinging a deal there?
Yeah, I think, as we saw, there were some starting pitchers that were ultimately traded. Probably not every starting pitcher that was rumored to be traded or was available was ultimately moved. And so we were engaged, as I've said throughout. I think there are multiple ways to build a pitching staff. And we focused on the back end of a pitching staff, the bullpen. We're really happy with the arms we were able to acquire who are going to pitch out of our pen. And we have confidence not only in the starters who are here, who we think are going to keep us competitive and help us win games, are also pleased with the development of how some of the guys in AAA are progressing. And we understand that they may not definitely, but they could be part of the mix going forward if needed.
You remain committed to Clay Holmes in the rotation at this point, and is there concern about that you haven't been able to get length out of him?
Yeah, I think Clay, from a physical standpoint, is in really good shape. And I think the stuff, for the most part, has still been there, but you're right. We got to get a little deeper into games. Clearly, Clay knows that. He's working hard to do that, and I think we'll be able to see it.
Next, go to Manny.
My question was along the same lines as Anthony's. Just how do you envision divvying up playing time between Vientos, Beatty, McNeil, Mauricio, and Acuna, now that you've acquired a center fielder? And I know that you just said that you'll see McNeil will still continue getting time in the outfield, but it seems like there's a lot of infielders there at this point. Just how do you envision that playing itself out?
The good news is there are a lot of bats to go around. When you're talking about a couple of infield positions, an outfield position, DH at bats, there are a lot of bats to go around. I think all of those guys are going to get plenty of time. Is there going to be one or two guys on the bench each day? Yeah. And then they're probably going to get a really leveraged pinch hit or an at bat late in the game. And so I think Mendy does a great job of figuring out who the right guys are for the lineup, given who we're facing, the attributes of the opposing pitcher, the attributes of the opposing bullpen, and I think we'll continue to do that.
Next, go to Tim Britton from The Athletic.
Hey, David, I'm wondering, during this entire process, how much are you projecting out and monitoring what the other contenders in the NL East, like Philadelphia, or in the NL as a whole, like San Diego, are doing or might do? And how does that influence kind of how you build out your plans at the deadline?
It really can't influence what we're doing. I think we're focused on following our plan and our strategy. If we get too influenced one way or the other about what one of our competitors is doing or not doing, I don't think that's going to lead to the most productive behavior on our end. So we focus on ourselves, executing our strategy, ensuring we're making every decision with the best information possible in the best manner possible. And if we do that, we'll probably end up in a good spot.
And then, several of the players you traded were not in your farm system, I think, at the start of last season. How different was your farm system valued maybe this deadline versus last year?
Yeah, I think the story of this deadline for us is really an amateur talent acquisition and player development story. Our amateur talent acquisition departments and our player development group put us in position to be able to have this type of deadline where we're able to go out, acquire players that we think are really going to help us at the major league level, and not touch some really high upside players at the top of our system. And so enormous credit to them to be able to bring that type of talent into the organization. And then once they're in the organization, to help them get better.
What about Abby from the Daily News?
Hey, David, just with the way the starting pitching market was and with Paul Blackburn coming back, just how do you envision his role in using him, especially now that you've made a few other bullpen additions?
Yeah, we're gonna have to see. Paul's got one more rehab start. We'll see how he gets through that, and we'll go from there. And we'll talk it over with Paul to see what makes the most sense after that.
Mike from the AP.
Hey, David. So you guys acquired essentially all players who can become free agents in the off season. Past trade deadlines, teams have often seemed hesitant to do that, to give up minor league prospects for players they don't control beyond the next couple of months. Several of your top competitors here in the National League playoff race moved to get guys who they control for multiple years. Was that something you guys did intentionally? Did you feel like there was an inefficiency there in the trade deadline market, guys, who are not under control beyond this year? And how come that was your approach?
As we evaluated the market, the players available, and what teams were looking for in return for those players, these were the deals that we thought made the most sense for us. We were certainly open and engaged on players who provided multiple years of control. But at the end of the day, these were the ones that we thought made the most sense for our team, for our organization, and really happy with the players we were able to bring in.
Laura from Newsday.
Hey, David, you had mentioned that there are plenty of at-bats to go around for these younger players, but I guess how do you balance that with the general consensus that young players need both consistency and stability, regular at-bats in order to optimize their development?
Yeah, it's always a balance, and this is part of breaking players, young players, into the major leagues level. It is rare that you take a position player prospect, bring him to the big leagues on a good team, a team that's expected to go to the playoffs and compete, and just hand that player 600, 650 plate appearances. We're not really in a position to do that. But I think our young guys have responded really well. I think at the end of the year, we're going to look up, and the vast majority of our younger players who have been at the major league level are going to get a pretty representative sample, a really nice amount of playing time. And I think we've seen that benefit them over the course of this year, and I think it will continue to.
Dave from Newsday.
Hey, Dave, you guys jumped on the reliever market pretty fast in getting Soto last week. And then you got two of the big names off the board yesterday in a market where pretty much all the top guys went. How would you describe kind of the dealings and getting the guys that you did? And did you get that sense it was pretty ultra competitive in your conversations with these teams?
It was competitive, absolutely. And it should have been competitive. There are a lot of teams looking for arms. We knew that. We went after some arms that we think are pretty talented, and so we expected it to be competitive. And it was. And I think we saw that throughout the day today. Even some of the deals that went down to the wire looked like they were pretty competitive deals.
Andrew?
With those relievers, I guess, what do you like specifically just about what Rogers and Helsley bring to the table?
I think first and foremost, both those guys can get outs, and they can get outs in high leverage against both sides of the plate They're experienced guys. They can take the ball, and they do it differently from one another, which was another thing that I think was important for us to bring in some different looks. And certainly someone like Rogers provides that. So very excited to be able to bring in two guys like that who have had success either at the back end of a game or close to the back end of the game in true leverage environments and big spots. And we think both those guys are going to help a lot.
And specifically with Helsley, how do you feel he kind of complements Diaz in the back? I know they have kind of a similar arsenal, but in what ways are they kind of different?
Yeah, look, they're two very good, experienced closers, and to have two guys like that who are comfortable in the back end of games, it just makes us better. And it gives Mendy a few more options as he's trying to figure out how to get from the mid innings to the 27th out. The more guys you can have back there that you have confidence in, I think the better. And hopefully now we've got quite a few that can get big outs for us in big spots.
Mark?
Hey, David, thanks for doing this. You mentioned being happy with the progression of some of your guys in AAA. I realize we've asked you a lot about Sproat and McLean, but just how close do you see those guys as being able to help?
Yeah, I think they can help, and I think it's just a matter of their continued development, which they're doing a really good job of, and then when does the opportunity arise, and is it the right time? But I think both those guys have taken very nice steps forward in their development. We're going to continue to challenge them. We're going to continue to ask them to get better and work on things, but they're doing a good job. And if we need, if we need someone from AAA, I think we've got people down there, and they're certainly among them who can help us.
Back to Tony.
Hey, David, two more from me. Just in giving up specifically Gilbert and Tidwell in the Rogers deal, just how difficult is it to kind of, weigh the risk reward there of giving up two players who are obviously both good prospects, but very close to the big leagues?
Yeah, they're good players. There's no question they're good players, and proximity to the major leagues certainly factors into these types of deals. And look, we believe we traded a number of players who are going to play on TV, and will continue to play on TV, and I hope they do. These are largely like really good players, good people. We're rooting for them, and we were in a position where we thought that these deals made sense, giving up good players to get players who maybe can help us in a little bit more concentrated fashion right now. Never easy decisions to make, but we felt like, and I felt like, the right decisions to make right now.
And secondly, you obviously have a big chunk of your lineup right now is healthy on big guaranteed deals in their primes. How much did that, thought of just, hey, the window's open now, we don't know when it's going to be or how long it will stay open, how much did that factor into your desire to be pretty active this deadline?
Okay, I don't view this as windows. Like our responsibility here is to give ourselves a chance to make the playoffs and ultimately win a World Series every single year. That's what this should be. That's what we're aiming to make it. So I don't view this period of Mets competitiveness in a defined window. I view it as the beginning of what should be a very long and sustained period of competitiveness at the highest level. And I think the moves we were able to make the last couple of days certainly helped that this year, without, in a very material way, sacrificing some really high upside special talent that could help us in years to come.
Tim?
You all put Jesse Winker on the 60-day IL, and you've mentioned kind of the opportunities at DH for some of your younger hitters. What is the prognosis for Winker, and do you expect him back at any point this season?
We still have some hope that he's going to be back at some point this season, but clearly this has taken a little bit longer than we had originally anticipated. Wink got an epidural. I think we've seen some progress since then, but frankly not at the pace that I think he or we were hoping. And so the 60-day IL timeframe lined up. Certainly not closing the door on this season, but it's not going to be August.
And how much did that play into decision to hold all your young infielders and to add Mullins in center, specifically a left-handed bat in center that Mullins brings?
Yeah, I think it played into it. What was a part of it. We were, looking at this segment of the market even before this direction for Wink became clear, but certainly as it became evident that Wink's absence was going to be a little bit longer, made us look even harder at this segment, especially left-handed bats.
Laura?
By that same tack, do you expect to see Jose Siri back this season?
I think with Jose, again, still positive, still possible. Wouldn't write it off, but we need a little bit more news and a little bit more of an update for him, which we should get in the next week to 10 days to see what the timeline is for him to progress.
Mark?
Hey, David, thanks for doing this. I'm glad you finally get a chance to exhale. Just a couple of questions. Taking a look, reflecting back, the fact that you were able to add these 4 players and really only give up one guy off your major league roster and really protected a lot of your assets, how good do you feel about that?
I think it comes back to the work that our amateur talent acquisition group and our player development staff has done over the last couple of years to be able to put us in a position like this. And so from that respect, it's rewarding that those groups have done such a good job. Very appreciative of that. And I'm happy that we were able to turn some of that good work into immediate major league impact.
Howard? I'm sorry, Howard, we can't hear you. We'll come back to you. Mark?
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up. You mentioned about some of the minor league pitchers possibly contributing down the road. One of the thoughts is, as you start hopefully looking at playoff rosters, would it be maybe to give Clay Holmes a little bit of a rest and then maybe move him, postseason into the pen as maybe that bulk guy?
Yeah, that's not something that we're contemplating right now. We get past the trade deadline. Let's see how our roster plays. Let's see how things come together. And then as we get into August a little bit, we can really plot with a little bit more certainty maybe what September looks like when you've got the extra roster spot. But I think for now, we're going to let this play out the way it is and go from there.
And we'll try again for Howard.
You hear me now okay? Great. David, Howard Megdal, Baseball Prospectus. Just wanted to drill down a little bit into Cedric Mullins' numbers this year to see how much they did or did not play a part. Obviously, you guys are pretty lefty heavy, but his reverse splits are pretty significant this year. Wondering how much his production, specifically against lefties, played a part in looking into bringing him in to be part of the puzzle. And then just the defensive metrics are all over the place. So I'm just curious what you guys are seeing, where you think he is as a center fielder at this time. Obviously, the bat plays regardless, but wondering what you guys are seeing on the defensive side.
Yeah, we like the quality of center field. He's played especially over the last, let's say, 8 weeks. Recovered from a little bit of a hamstring tweak, and since that point, we think he's played a really quality center field. From the platoon stuff, it's always tough to read too much into small sample reverse platoons. With that said, we noticed it. I think there have been some very real approach changes versus left this year for him. And so, that's great to see. And if he can continue that, I'm certain he's going to find his way into the lineup at times versus lefties. And I give him credit for working on that clearly and changing his approach to allow him to have some success.
All right, David, thank you very much for your time, and we'll see everybody at the ballpark tomorrow.